Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is Wednesday, March 12th, and welcome to an all new episode of Style by Stevie. Our very special guest today is an actor, and I'm super excited to welcome him here in the dollhouse with me. So, without further ado, Fashion Dolls, please let's take the time and welcome our very special guest, Michael A. Rodriguez. And hi, Pure Luck Salon. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Our very special guest is here, Fashion Dolls. So without further ado, let's welcome our very special guest, Michael A. Rodriguez. And should I stand up and do a turn in the dress? Yes, yes. Do y'all like it? Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I had to. It is 78 degrees outside. So springtime means beautiful color. And blue was perfect. All right? So let me add my very special guest. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the dollhouse. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. So before we kick off this conversation, how has 2025 been for you so far?
January was a rough start, but we're starting to peek into, things getting more calmer for me a little bit, but things are actually starting to be a benefit. So, how about you? How's things going for you?
Absolutely fabulous. I must say that this year has started off crazy, but I must say now I'm at a place where everything is balanced and centered. So I'm
Absolutely
glad to be.
good to hear.
Yes, yes. So I like to start at the beginning of everyone's journey. Tell us, who is Michael Rodriguez?
Michael's still trying to figure that out. um, no, I'm just a guy from a small town of Chilton, Wisconsin. I moved out to Toledo, Ohio back in like 1999. And ever since I was a kid, acting was always kind of my getaway. And growing up, I just had such a fascination with just seeing people on TV. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. For me, it was like a real life superhero to me, and that's what really piqued it. And so when I was younger, that's where the imagination came. And that's where I was like, I didn't really do much. I mean, I did a little theater here and there, but nothing to really that extent. But I really tried my hardest to find the best ways to grasp becoming an actor, which was really hard to do because, the acting business in general is such a massive brand to really kick off and to really get your name out there. So it's, because so many people are doing it. But when I jumped into it, that's what, it's for me, it was just acting has basically just become the part where I feel like I can venture out instead of just being myself
Yeah.
every day. It was great for me. I could step out of my own shoes. You know what I mean? I can put myself into being a different character for that time being. And instead of just feeling like, every single day I'm based off of reality. I grew up a very, my life wasn't exactly perfect, but it wasn't bad. But it was easy for me to feel like I can be somebody else for a little while. Step out of the reality of Michael and be this other character and try to that was my happiness, from a dark place, because a lot of, within comedy, a lot of comedy comes from people who have dark places.
Yeah.
And that's what acting was for me. I kind of just had like a lot of my demons that I was battling through, and that's what saved me, you know?
And it was your escape. It was your getaway
It was.
because I love what you just said. I'm going to go back to what you just said, which is finding that space, finding that escape, finding that outlet for you. When you're going on set and you're transforming into this
Yeah.
character, you are putting on someone else's shoes. You're no longer
No,
Michael, but you're having to carry the cross of that character.
yeah.
And then the thing a lot of actors battle with, method actors, is taking that character home, knowing when to turn that character on and knowing when to turn it off.
Yeah.
So for you, have you ever had those type of problems where it's just like, okay, I need to separate the work, being on set, away from being myself?
Absolutely. And that was the thing too. It's when it comes to trying to base myself, we'll go with my very first feature film ever. And I had to play a racist police officer. My very first film, I had to play a racist cop, and I was very nervous because I was like, this isn't the type of person who I am. So the first person I called was my mother, and I was like, what do I do? She said, you take the role, and I was like, I was really nervous because obviously we live in a world where this happens, and I necessarily am not that type of person. So when I looked at it, I was like, I don't want to do this that way because I don't portray myself looking at people that way. And she said, it's just a character, and when I really started to think about it, I was like, there's certain things in there that I had to say that I didn't really want to say, but I was like, you know what? I'm just playing a character. I had to try to tap into being this type of person just to make the film look good. But then at the end of the day, I was like, as long as I get people to hate my character because that's what I needed to be done, then I know that my job was done well. So instead of being Michael, I had to be this, this other officer. But it's a step out of my comfort zone, but lets me know that I'm doing what I can for this person's project to make it, what it is. But I love being able to
Absolutely.
expand out to different characters. I love being able to kind of just, portray like something different. The only thing is very rough is also when you do so good with him being that type of character, you begin to become typecast to be in that character, which is very, very hard to do because people start to perceive you being like, like you're really great at this, but then it's like, I don't want to be looked at just being that good for that, like I know that I can offer more.
It's so crazy you said that because that tends to happen to a lot of actors in this
It does.
business as they begin to get typecasted. And one of my favorite actresses, and she's a comedian also, is Leslie Jones. And she's just like, I don't want to be typecasted as the funny best friend all the time. I want to step outside of
Yeah.
my comfort zone
Yeah.
and do something that's a little bit more challenging for me. Marlon Wayans had the same issue as well too because we know him and his family for comedy. So when we seen him in Respect with Jennifer Hudson, we seen a different side of him. And it's important that a lot of actors step outside of their
Yeah.
norms so you don't get typecasted in just that one specific box. And it's important and key that you have range in this business. And that was going to be my next question for you. Any regrets? What is your deepest regrets as far as taking certain roles? Any regrets?
I don't regret anything. The way that I look at things is I feel everything happens for a reason. So when it comes down to the choices that we make as a human, I don't necessarily see them as being a regret. I see them just being as a life lesson. You learn from what it was that you did that you shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Some people don't actually see it that way, but that's how I looked at it. I don't ever regret anything it is that I do because it's like if I did do something, then I'm like, okay, maybe that didn't work out for me the way that I expected it, but I don't regret doing it because it's what I wanted to do. So when it comes down to being cast for a role, I might not necessarily like the character that I'm given, but I don't regret taking it because one thing I always am appreciative of is the opportunity. I love the opportunity that is given to me. So I might not say, there can be an offer that I'm like, I don't really like this character, but I'm also not going to tell you no because it's what I want to do. This is what I love to do. And to say, I can do this, I can get it done and over with. The project turned out great. I never want to do it again, but it's the opportunity that was given. My name's getting put out there, so I don't regret anything when it comes down to what I've done in filming so far.
And it is. You worked alongside one of my amazing guests and colleagues who is a friend of the show, Nelson J.
Oh,
Davis.
he's
And what I
amazing.
love about Nelson is that he has, and I told him this in one of my interviews, is that he has so much range. I'm sorry I'm cutting you off,
No,
but
you're
I'll get to
completely
my point of what I
fine.
told him.
I
But
love I
yes,
love Nelson. He's amazing. Nelson is actually
oh,
he is so fun to work with, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people call him. They call him the to be king because he's the guy is everywhere. But he's incredible. I would love to work with him again one day too. So he's a lot of fun.
what I and when I did one of it was either my first or second interview with him, I told him you have range.
He
And
does.
it was somebody who said something. It was Taraji P. Henson. She said this: I'm not going to do it if it doesn't scare me. And being an actor, you have to be willing to take certain challenges. You have to take certain roles that are out of your norm. So kudos to you for stepping outside of your zone and outside of your your element to play this
Yeah.
cop, to play these other characters, because it shows that you're multifaceted. And in this business as an actor, you have to portray different things, because there could be somebody who could relate to a character in some sort of way, even the bad guy, because the bad guy has a backstory too.
I
So you
love
got
playing
to
the bad guy.
feel, yes, you got to feel that sympathy for them in some sort of way. Like, what is it about this character? Like the villain, I could go to The Little Mermaid, Ursula. That's an example.
Yeah.
We want to know more about Ursula. Why is she evil? Why does she want to take Ariel's voice? All of these different things. Every villain has a backstory to make them the way they are. And then you have the protagonist, the hero in the film. So of course we know more about the hero, but the villain has a backstory as well too, and that's key and critical. So for you, have you ever felt yourself feeling completely lost in a character, or just lost in that moment where it's just like, what would this character do?
Not yet. I haven't actually feel like I've been given a role or taken on a role that's caused me to get to that point yet, which I do hope does, because I wanted to, in a way, this is going to sound very, very strange to say, but I want to take on a role that's willing to take over my life at the same time. Like, I want to be dedicated so much to that character that, you've seen so many people that go into depths with trying to make their character the way that they are. And I want to push that next level of showing that I can be that. Because some people just say, I've been across so many actors where they've taken on a role, but they don't take it too seriously.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, this is a business at the same time. You know what I mean? And it's if you're going to do this, you're going to need to do it right, because this isn't just for us. This is for the people who are in the creative aspect of this project. So I want to hopefully one day take a role that has me take over that point. For me to have like a full on understanding, like, why does this character do what they do? What is the character's backstory? For I've actually written two of my own films, which I hope to one day be able to like put out one day. But I looked at the backstory of each character, of why did they turn out the way they did? How did they get to the life of where they are now? Because it's almost like a Batman and Joker thing. We know Batman's
Yeah.
story, you know. We don't know why the Joker is the way that he is. Not fully. We know it to an extent, but we don't know fully of why he turned out the way that he did. And speaking of that, I actually had a Batman audition not too long ago, which was amazing. Yeah. Shout out to Kay Brown. She's amazing. I actually flew. This is how dedicated I am to the craft when it comes down to loving what it is I do. Since I live in Ohio, the auditions and the filming and everything takes place in Vegas. I flew from Ohio to Vegas just to do an audition, and it just,
See.
whether I get it or not, it's just the opportunity that's been given. That's how I've always looked at things, and that's just how I am. And I've taken on many roles where I don't even get paid. To me, I look at it as I want the recognition, I want the opportunity, I want the chance to be showing my name around. The money means nothing to me. I've traveled, I've done it all pretty much as I can, but the money's not where it stands out for me. It's more of just being able to show my name, show that this is what I do, this is what I love. And so yeah, that's pretty exciting stuff that I have going on, especially this year right now too, because we're still in the process of filming another movie right now too.
So see, more and more opportunities, and that comes from stepping outside of your norm, outside of your comfort zones.
Yeah.
And that was going to be another question. Love you, Stevie. Be right back. Thank you, Nurse Chula. And I love you too, baby. Thank you, girl. And that was going to be a next question that I was going to ask you. Have you ever had one of your worst fears happen while on set as an actor? And I've interviewed a lot of actors who've done like crime shows, like what's the name of the show on TV one? Fatal Attraction, where they actually reenacted real crime scenes. And it just takes you out of an outer body experience like, wow, okay, I'm no longer the person. I am this person
Yeah.
now. And I'm really having to act out this crime that this person committed in real time. So have you ever seen one of your worst fears play out in front of you on set?
I wouldn't say it was the worst fear, but it was kind of terrifying for a little bit because as an independent actor, we don't have stunt doubles. We are the stunt double. And for me, I'm willing to take bumps and bruises. I'll bleed for the film as much as I have to. But if I can do it to make it look good, I'm willing to do it. Now, there's a movie called Eyewitness, directed by Jalen Griff. Shout out to OTM Productions for them. And I worked with him, and so one of the characters they had to have a prop knife. Well, unfortunately, there wasn't a prop knife available, so they used a real one. And during the scene of me having to do this fight scene and everything else, he's actually holding on to a real knife. And while we're shooting, we're going from point A to point B, and it's just constantly like, hey, do what you're doing, pause, do what you're doing, pause, keep going. And the whole time I'm worried that I'm actually going to really get stabbed or possibly cut. So that was probably the most that I think I was really nervous about, but not to the extent of where I've had a worse fear actually appear to, being on set. So.
Okay,
But
and I and
the knife thing was kind of nerve wracking. I was sitting there like, please don't cut me, please don't cut me. But luckily, I worked with some good people, and it turned out to be really great. So
that was going to be another question that I'm going to ask you is any injuries on set? Because like you said, some people are stunt doubles. And when you are an actor and they request you for that specific role, it it's all on you. You're using your body. Like I remember interviewing Spitfire Brown,
mm-hmm.
who played Rain in Mortal Kombat. And he came on and he was talking about how
Wow,
many
really?
stunts. Yes.
That's incredible.
And I'll have to see that interview to check out. It was a
Yeah,
great
I'll
interview. And he
definitely
said,
watch it.
"Hey, I'm getting set on fire the next day." And I said, "Huh? Wait,
Wow.
what? Like what? Uh, you're literally using your body as a human shield."
Yeah.
So thank God, no injuries. That was going to be another question. Has any injuries ever happened to you while on set?
Not too not too bad. So in Eyewitness during that scene where it came to actually having to, do the fight that we were going through, um, I actually came up with the idea, which that's the creative mindset that I just have is like, if I'm going to do it, we're going to do it right and we're going to make it look good. And so I threw out the idea and they were all for it. They're like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. So there's a part in the scene where I get kicked down the stairs. So I said, when you do it, kick me and I'm going to fall. And mind you, we're in a basement and it's just all cement. They put a few cardboard boxes around to kind of help break the fall, but I went and I fell back first, like straight on my back from like, I think it was like 3 or 4 steps up. And when I took the kick, I actually went backwards and just landed straight on my back. It definitely hurt, but not enough to a point where it was going to cause an injury. So, but that's the thing is you take risks, and that I'm a big believer in if you're going to do it, make it look good, and that's how I am. I'm willing to take
What
a
is it?
few bumps and bruises.
Yes, and in order to make that scene, in order to make that scene come to life, in order to make it us, the viewers, the consumers, to make it seem so real to us. I've watched horror films, and some of the scenes in there they look so surreal, but we're like, okay, we know that they're
Yeah.
acting. I've seen the behind the scenes, but when it is done, the complete product, it looks so real to us. So that was going to be another question that I wanted to ask you. What's an important lesson that you've learned as an actor throughout your career while being on set?
Mine, for me, it's more of understand what the creators are wanting for their film, understanding the story. Because you can read a script, and a lot of times as an actor, I feel a lot of people kind of veer off and more just trying to pay attention to what their character is doing. They're gonna get a script. They're only gonna focus on their lines, so they know what's going on. The problem with I feel like a lot of actors don't do is they're not actually taking the time to read the script. They're not taking the time to really understand what story the creators, the directors, writers, they're trying to tell here. So for me, it's understand the story because I need to know why my character does what they do. Before I was like, when I first started, I was like, I'm just gonna focus on what my lines are because that's the only important part for me. Like, why should I care about what's going on in the rest? But as I started to gain the experience, I said, okay, I actually need to know what's going on here because there's a reason why my character is the way that he is, and I need to figure out why he does what he does what's the reasoning for his purposes of everything that's going on, to understand the story completely. So for me, it was more of understanding what the directors and the writers are wanting, understanding the project. So what it comes down to is, I don't mean to sound like egotistical and everything else, but I think it's more of, when it comes down to actually being able to do this, it's what I wanted to do, it's what I love to do, it's what I want to do, and I feel like I need to do it. That it just clicks. I can watch a movie one time, and once it interests me, I almost remember all the dialogue. And it's almost like when it comes down to a script, I have people so many times asking, "How do you remember your lines?" And it's because I dedicate to what it is that I'm doing. I really sit and I read what's going on. And the other funny thing too is we did a short film called When Men Cry, directed by LaPaula Crawford. Um, he we were on set, and there was a character who was struggling with his lines, and I was remembering his lines. And they're like, "How do you remember my lines?" I was like, "Because I need to know your lines to know when I'm up," you know? So it's not just reading the story and just reading your lines to just go off of, okay, that's my cue kind of thing. Like, you really need to know the balance between understanding their story, your character, the other person's character, what you're going into.
And that brings me to another part of the conversation as well. So that's commitment.
It
And that was
is.
going to be another part of this conversation, which is how would you define or describe commitment? Because you've talked about, okay, going from Ohio to go to this set for this movie role and auditioning, the process for you. So, how important is commitment as it pertains to being an actor? And how would you define or describe
I look at it as like a marriage. I mean, I'm not married, but I would look at it as a marriage. If you're going to be in, you got to be all in. If you're going to do it, if you're going to put a ring on the finger, you need to be willing to know that that ring is there to stay forever. That's your goal. You know, that's the vows that are taken.
it?
For
Yes.
me, I look at it as that's what I need to do. I'm going to look at it for marriage. Like for independent actors, you're usually given, like, 10 days when it comes down to shooting the film. I look at it as, okay, for those 10 days, that's my commitment. I'm dedicating my life to you because this is my focus. I am yours for this time being during the shooting time. So I am going to commit every single ounce that I have. I just read the comment. That's cute. Thank you very much. Um, I'm going to do everything it is that I can to make sure that I commit myself to you because your project matters. You're putting money into what you're doing. I'm not taking a dime. I'm doing this because this is what I love to do. So I look at it as being a marriage. I have to be all in, and I'm not going to cheat on you to focus on other things. That's how you look at it. And if you want a relationship to work, you need to be all in. And that's just how I am. I can't give up on something that is like, for me, for example, like right now I work anywhere up to 60 hours a week, if not more, and I will get done and I can go film the same night and then come back to work and keep doing it. And
Oh,
then I'll
yeah.
still be working on my. It's like it's always a nonstop go for me. It's because it's what I want to do. It's so much that I know that I have and that I can give to the acting world, and my dedication is there. All I need is just for somebody to open that door, and I'm walking through it. But the moment I walk through that door, you're getting all of me. So
And that's
nothing
what that
really,
is.
yeah,
It's true.
commitment's full in, it's just my dedication, it's my drive. I strive to be better every single day at what it is that I do. I work on it every single day. I practice in the mirror all the time. It's just it's not just a pretty face. It's because I actually want to. I use that to help me as well too, because it helps me when I get a character. I need to try to work on the facial expressions. I need to try to say, I can't just look bland. I need to be able to feel like, how would this person say it? How would they look saying it? So I do it multiple ways, and okay, that sticks a little bit better. So it was like when I did the audition for Batman. I dedicated myself to being like, this is what I love to do. I'm a huge fan of Batman. I flew from Ohio to Vegas just to do an audition, and I think it was a lot of nerves that were kind of going at that point because I had just flown for the very first time. I was very nervous. I was, which is weird because I don't really get nervous when it comes down to doing an audition. But for some reason, I just felt the nerves were going that day. But one way or the other, I was just grateful for the opportunity to be able to take a chance at
Right.
something that I love to do. And whether I get the role or not, I'm just appreciative of the opportunities.
And that's dedication. That's what it takes. If you are persistent about something, you're going after your heart's desires and dreams. And that was another question I wanted to ask you. When did you feel like you were living your life to the fullest? At what point in your life and your career do you feel like, okay? And we talked about this week, deja vu, that feeling like, wow, like, can this actually be real? Is this actually happening to me? So when was that moment for you when you feel like you were living your life to the fullest? At what point in your career?
I would have to say when it really struck, because I always talked about how much I wanted to see myself, excuse me, on the big screen. And I never got to that point until, for me, I feel like it was a huge accomplishment because there's a director named Darren Brown who worked for on Melanin,
Yes.
and I was bugging this man on Instagram. I was sending the messages like, I wanted to audition for the guy so bad, and then I did send him an audition. I didn't hear anything back, but then I told myself one day that if I don't hear anything back by the end of this day, then that's it. Maybe the acting career wasn't for me. That same day where I was making that decision, I got a message from Darren Brown telling me to send him my info. So I did. They asked me to send an audition. I sent it that day. They offered me the role that day. I had to go and start shooting the next day. And I was very excited, but it felt like it didn't hit me yet, And then time came for the premiere. I walk into a theater and I was like, wow, this is incredible. I get to see myself on the big screen for the very first time. And what got me was the very beginning of the intro of the movie was showing my name blown up the way that it was in a movie theater. I think that's where it felt like one of the greatest moments, because I was like, wow, like this was it. My very first feature film ever, my very first film really at all is now playing in a movie theater. So I was like, okay, that was a great feeling. And then shortly after, we find out it's getting put onto the CW. So our movie, my very first feature film ever, was not only played in a theater for for the release, but also it progressed into being on the CW app, which is incredible for me because now I know that my name is out there one way or another. But I felt that was the moment that I knew. I was like, wow, like I wanted this so bad. I hadn't worked hard enough for it though until after it came from that movie on, and then I got a call for an audition, for a movie role that I didn't even audition for. And that's another cool thing is it's great when you have people actually calling you like, hey, we want you to play this role, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, and didn't even have to audition. The I think one of the other ones that did it for me where I was like, okay, this is where the character step out is, was the movie that's actually going to be coming out soon called Captive, directed by Deanna Copeland. And I don't know if you are familiar with her, but Sierra, do you know who she is?
Yes.
Yes. So she's an incredible actress, and I'm on the film with her as well. And she's actually in Melanin as well too, and she's an incredible actress. I would love to work with her again. And she's she's in this film called Captive, and they asked me to play a Russian character. I had to learn Russian, and that's where I was like, wow, like this is what actors actually have to go through,
Yep.
So that's where I feel like, okay, now I'm in. The calls are coming. I'm picking up on characters that I've never done before. I had to learn a new language, so that's where I felt like it really kicked in.
Wow.
I still feel
And
like I'm
as
reaching. I still feel like I'm reaching, but I don't think I'll ever get there, but I'm going to keep on reaching.
and it's coming. I'm manifesting it out there for you. You put it out there in the universe and manifest it. It's all gonna come to fruition. And Nurse Chula said it best in the comments. She said, "Congratulations, and God is good all the time."
Thank
And
you.
I believe that if you keep taking these certain roles, like you said, Batman, auditioning for Batman, and that was going to be another question I wanted to ask you. Now, what if they were today, when we're done with this interview? What if they give you a call back? What would be your first reaction to
I'm flying out to Vegas and we're going to go shoot a great film.
it? Mm.
I fly to Vegas and we are going to shoot a great film. I will. The thing is that I am willing to do everything it is that I possibly can to make sure that I give the creators, the directors, producers a great film. You will always get 110% of me. So if this were to end and then I get a call from Miss Brown saying, "Hey, we want to offer you the role of Batman," I'm gonna probably be off of this phone. You won't ever see it, but I'll try to record it and then I'll post it online, jumping up and down, screaming like a happy little kid that just got his very first, candy bar or something. But it's just it's always the hope and just like that moment of just feeling like, okay, I did deserve it. But when I do feel like I did deserve it, I'm gonna show you why you chose me. I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
give you all of it. So if they were to call and say, "Yeah, you're Batman," I'm like, "You damn right I am." So
And I love what Nurse Chula just said, which is you will get there and let God do his work. Yes, if you
yeah.
put it out there in the universe, it's going to happen. I remember I did an interview. I've interviewed so many people, and one of my guests, he dropped a hint, he dropped a nugget on me. And he said, check me out in this trailer. I got something coming up. I can't really give away the deets on it, but let's just say it's a part of a huge Wu-Tang, I'm a part of a hip hop group. And it was a Wu-Tang film, the Wu-Tang
Oh
saga.
wow.
And I was like, okay. I see him in the trailer. I'm putting two and two together because he couldn't talk about it. When you get the role, you can't really drop all the details right then and
Right.
there. And so the next few days, I go and I look and I see him in the trailer. I said, that was because he manifested it. He said, just make sure that I get this call back. I'm going to pray and make sure that I get this call back. And that's because of the power of manifestation. And that is why it is important that we keep doing it. Now, my next question for you is how important is cherishing the moment, cherishing the most precious things? Now, from being in the critically acclaimed film Melanin that landed up on the CW and so many other things and so many other things that are coming, getting the to audition for the Batman role. All of these things are falling in line for you. So it is coming. You're going to get your name out there. And I see so much in the horizon for you as well, too. How important is it that we cherish these moments, that we cherish every single moment each day?
It's a very great question. Which is kind of brings me to one of the films that I've written. And I'm not gonna give any details away on that one. But in the film, the whole point of what it is that I try to make for people to understand is if you're willing to do something, like if you want to be successful, you need to be willing to work hard.
Oh, yeah.
And the second is don't take what you have in life for granted because at any moment it could be gone. I look at this as my motivation is saying I'm willing to work hard to do what it is that I love. And while I have it, I'm going to do what I can to keep it. I cherish
Mm.
every single moment that I'm on film because this is what I love to do. Because there's opportunities that many people don't get. But I also look at it as if I'm going to do this, I want to leave like a good, I can't really say much as like a good legacy behind, but I just cherish the moments and the opportunities that are given to me because I know that I deserve it. And I don't know where the future leads for me, but while this time that I do have, I'm willing to take every chance, live for the moment, live in the moment, and cherish the moment. It's not all opportunities are always, given out. They're not, and especially they're not always handed to you. Sometimes it's kind of upsetting to see some people who I feel like don't deserve it. Like in the media today,
Oh, yeah.
you see all these very disrespectful people that become millionaires just because they went on TV and disrespected a live host and everything. And I was like, you actually have people who are working hard daily to get to that level that are being ignored. And so for me, I just like if the opportunities are there, I'm willing to take it. If they're not, then there's another door that will open eventually. But I'm cherishing every moment that it is that I have. I'm grateful for every opportunity that has been given, and I'm looking forward to more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And without that comes change. That comes about change. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people out here who are working to get their name out here to the top. Up and coming actors.
Yeah.
And this business is so many. What do you think about the rise of these up and coming actors, actresses, filmmakers, producers who are just starting right off from scratch from the ground and not on a level like a Spielberg or a Kugler or all these big name filmmakers and producers that we see today? What do you think about the rise of them coming up?
I think it's incredible. I think it's great because this shows that there's so many people that are willing to show their projects, show their work and their dedication that they have for what they love. That goes for musicians, artists, actors, actresses, directors, producers. The one thing I will say is don't give up on doing what it is that you love to do. It's your dream and it's your goal to be able to be successful by doing these things. Don't give it up. And there has been times where I thought like, wow, maybe this, because there's times where the calls will just stop. You're not hearing anything. And for a while it's like, man, I'm not getting any phone calls. I'm not getting anything back. I'm not getting any roles. And I almost wanted to be like, maybe I should just stop. For a point, I was like, God, is this even good for me anymore? Like, should I continue to keep trying to do this? But then I realized it took a friend of mine to say, you need to understand you did two movies, two of your very first feature films that got put into a theater that went to the CW. Not a lot of people who are up and coming actors who started doing that get to that level,
No,
which is something that I actually looked at. I was like, wow, I had to sit back and really say, like, what are you doing? Why are you talking this way? Why are you pushing yourself away from something that you've loved ever since you were a kid? Don't give it up. No matter how hard it gets, do not give up because you're not going to get anywhere if you do. And then you're going to be more down about yourself because you're like, wow, that could have been me, while somebody else is taking an opportunity that you were working for that you gave up on. I look at it as almost like a job. There's always somebody else that's willing to replace you. They'll fire you and they'll replace you. I want to be that person who's making his way to the top of the corporate. I want to be that guy. And it's if you're trying to get in my way, I'm gonna keep pushing you away because I deserve to be here. So I look at it like do not give up on for any musicians, artists, producers, directors, actors, actresses, do not give up on your dreams.
absolutely. And it is so when you're going to these auditions, the lines are wrapped, literally wrapped around the corner because it is so many people that are going for a specific
Yeah.
role. And they're just like, okay, reading me the parts for this one. And that person is going for the same exact role as you. But you never know. It could be something that you have done that have blown that casting director away out the water. So my next question for you is, what is it that you do at your auditions and what tips and advice would you give to other actors as it pertains to standing out at an audition or a casting call to nail that role?
For me, I would say stay confident. Before
Mm,
you go in, you need to have the confidence of knowing that you need to walk in saying, this is my role. You need to go in, you need to be one, I feel like everybody needs to go in, they need to be 100% prepared. And go in, you take your breath, introduce yourself and everything else and just aim for the home run. You got to stay confident because if you're not, and when you're a director and producer, when you're doing an audition and you're standing in front of a director, they are used to seeing how characters are on screen. So when you're going into an audition for the very first time I ever meet them, they're gonna feel the there could be tension, there could be the nervousness. That's gonna be everybody's gonna be nervous walking into an audition, but you need to go in with confidence. You need to go in head held high, knowing that I walked in, I did my thing, and I'm walking out, and I know that I'm going to get that call. It's just go in, be prepared, stay confident. So, like, for example, like I say this now, but when I did my audition for Batman, Mind you, this is one thing that I love to say is I flew out there from Ohio. I'm completely out of state, and I was the very first one at the audition. I am from out of state, and locals weren't even there yet. That just shows like I'm dedicated. I want to be. That's the other thing too. Be on time. Give
Yes.
yourself. If your audition is at 4 o'clock, show up at 3:40. Show up at 3:15. Be prepared. This way, you get your confidence. You're ready. Your mindset's where you need it to be at. Because if you're doing an audition where you have a monologue, go in, take your breath, get your monologue down, stand in front of a mirror if you have to, and get it down. So when you walk into doing that audition, you're set. When you're doing a cold read, it's a little bit different because you're reading off of the script itself. I have never done a cold read before, so that was my very first time doing one. So I think that's where a little bit of my nervousness was coming in. Is like I walked in, I was confident, I was nervous, but I was confident. But I was also, I think I let my nerves get the best of me that day, where it was like I've never done a cold read where usually when I stand and do my audition, I'm looking dead at the camera because that's how I was taught. Was you stand at your line, you don't move because if you're swaying back and forth, it shows that your body is that you're nervous. You're trying to do it, whatever it is that you
Oh,
can
yes.
to, kind of veer off of the fact that you are nervous. So I always knew to just stand still at the line that I was placed at. You read your lines, stare at the camera, and then you go on. But for me, it's just stay confident. Go into your audition, stay confident.
What is your favorite quote to live by that gets you going on a daily as we talk about confidence?
I am a huge fan, or well, I was, but I mean, I still am. He passed away, Patrick Swayze,
Oh,
and he was one of my favorite. He's actually one of the actors who got me wanting to be, wanted me to be an actor. But I loved his line that he did in Point Break that he worked on with Keanu Reeves. There was a line that he was saying they're all sitting around the fire, and uh, Keanu's standing across from him, and he looks as Patrick Swayze says, "It's not tragic to die doing what you love." As weird as this sounds, that line has stuck with me so much because I looked at it as like I, I am such a huge fan of being an actor and actors in general that this is what I want to die doing. I will die to become an actor. That's how much I look at it, and it's like if because it's what I love. This is what I want to do, and that's one quote I've pretty much always stood by: is it's not tragic to die doing what you love. And the funny thing about it was when you look at what Patrick Swayze's life was during the time, he loved to surf and he loved to dance and he loved acting. He died doing what he loved. And that's how I look at it. It's like I want to be that person that just wants to that shows his dedication and love that he has for acting. And I'm willing to die for it. Not to that extent, but you know what I mean. I'm willing the way I look at it is like as a figure of speech is I'm willing to give my blood, sweat, and tears and into the craft that I love to do. That's what I look at.
you're everything
Yes.
into it. You're everything.
Yes.
Even with me hosting this platform, I give it my all. Every single interview, I make sure that it is done amazingly, that the questions are on point, that I, as you said, show up on
Yeah.
time. Professionalism is key. These are things that people pay attention to. So if you want to continue to book those roles and go out here, direct, produce, write, get to
Yeah.
it. And I tell people this all the time here on my platform as well. Follow what sets your soul on fire. Live life through
Yeah.
fire and follow what makes you happy. So if acting is your passion, if that is your dream, if that is your goal, do it. My mother has raised me. I have four brothers and I have two sisters. And out of each and every one of us, we have our own personality.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, my mom and dad brought us up to go after whatever sets our soul on fire. So my brother chose the military. He chose to go into the military and I chose to go into cosmetology, fashion, beauty. That was all me. I just loved to experiment with different things as a child, doing my grandmother's hair and my aunt's hair, and it would start off right there in the kitchen, shampooing their hair, or just combing it. That's how I learned. I kind of taught myself along the way. And then as I got older, my high school year was when I took up cosmetology and beauty school. And then fast forward, got my license. And it's because I put skill into it. So if you have something that is a passion of yours, go after it.
Absolutely.
Go after it.
Absolutely.
Follow your trade. Follow your trade. And that was going to be another question. Speaking of learning, what is a book that has helped you as an actor? Another actor that I'm pretty sure you know as well too. We talked about Nelson, but Kevin J. Stone. My very first interview with Kevin, we talked about, he gave a book on how to become an amazing actor and what it takes being on set. It was given all of these principles that actors need to help them in their career. What is one book that has been fundamental in helping you and molding you in your career as an actor?
There's, excuse my language when I have to say this because this is the title of the book. I can't remember who it's written by, but the title of the book is called "Stop Doing That Shit." And the reason that book sticks with me is because it was a motivator. It was
Mm,
basically getting people who want to. It's basically stating on people say that they want to do things. They want this, they want that, but they're sitting on the couch. They're not doing anything. They're not changing anything that's going on in their life. So basically, what it was is a good motivational book to get me to realize, stop sitting down. You keep telling yourself that you want to do these things, but you're not doing anything to change it. You're not doing anything to proceed to becoming that. So it was basically telling me, it's almost like having a dad sit there. I didn't have a dad growing up, but it was almost like having a dad sitting there telling me, get up, go do it. Stop sitting on the couch. Stop wasting your life away because you're not going to get anywhere if you keep doing it. So I used that book, and that's what got me up. That's what got me motivated. And that book helped me stay to the motivational person that I am today. I still have the book. I actually think I might have to reread it so I don't fall back down.
and we need these
Yeah,
things. We need these things as people in the business, as creators, as actors, as hosts of a platform. These things help us and encourage us along the way to help us grow and be even better.
yeah.
And you said not having that father there, your mom. And it brings me to my next portion of our conversation before we wrap, which is it is Women's History Month, celebrating women, our achievements to the world, and so much. Your mom, and I'm pretty sure she's so proud of you, and the
Uh,
rest of the women in your family, they're proud of you. How important are women to you and your family and just in the world overall? And what are five characteristics that you love about your mom and the women in your family?
uh, don't get me emotional on my mom.
Oh,
So my mom has basically, aside from my son, my mother has been my number one, supporter.
mm,
As a single mom, she raised three kids. You know, she did it by herself, and even to this day, she's willing to step out to make sure that she can still take care of her kids. She always puts herself first. We tell her to put herself first, but she's always put her kids first. And we're like, Mom, we're adults
mm,
now. We can take care of ourselves. But that mother role will never go away. As a mom, you never stop being a mom. And to us, we're still those little babies that she had running around, the way that she looks at us. And she's been a huge inspiring motivator in my life because
mm,
she knew that acting was something I've always wanted to do, but she always told me, have a backup plan in case this doesn't fall. She's like, I want you to do what it is that you love to do. She said, but you need to also remember that you still have to try to survive and live life. And I was willing to give up everything it is that I had. I was gonna sell everything it was that I had. I was gonna fly out to California and just try to get noticed. I was willing to do all these things, but she talked me into. She's like, "Don't do that because what happens if nothing happens? Now you just lost everything."
right.
She saved me from doing that. She kept my feet on the ground and said, "Your time will come. Just you got to keep pushing." And stubbornly back then, when I was still a young kid trying to grow up, but there's a lot of things that I wish I can go back and do because there was times where I looked at it like, I was disrespectful to her at times, but I also have to remember she was there. My dad wasn't. she took care of three kids by herself. Our dads didn't, and for that, I look at her. I will say this forever until, the end of time. People always say that their heroes are, Denzel Washington and, all these high end actors or football players and stuff like that. And people say LeBron James is their hero. It's like mine is and always will be my mother, because without her, I wouldn't be where I am like this day. I wouldn't have the type of motivation that I do. I wouldn't be the type of man that I am without her. And I feel like a lot of me is her, because she put me on a path that, kept me going. She allowed me to know that it's okay to fall down, but don't give up and get yourself back up and keep going. So for her, she has definitely been the biggest inspiration of my life, because I don't think I don't think she has been given enough credit than what she actually gets. And I feel like I'll never be able to repay her for that. But my mother is my all-time hero, and she is, yeah, uh, she's she's the greatest. But she's been my number one supporter. So, sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional on that one.
No,
um,
it's
yeah,
okay.
she's been the best person. That's, she's she's great. um, Five characteristics I would give on women, though. I will have to say, I feel like women aren't appreciated as much as they should be. You there's a lot of things that women can do that men can't do. I feel when it comes down to that, they're strong, and they're women nowadays are very more independent than, because I mean, not a lot of women can rely on men anymore these days, and women have become to be independent where they can rely on themselves, which is one thing I think that men have a problem with. And the thing is, like, there's nothing wrong with having an independent, strong woman. My mother is one of those. My mother did everything by herself. She is strong. She is independent. She has her moments where she can be soft, but don't get on her bad side. You know, um, I feel women just aren't appreciative enough. And I think the other thing that men also have a problem with is they don't like seeing a woman in power. I feel like I would love the idea of a woman being like, for example, I have a boss that's, he's a man, but I've had previous bosses who are women, like even directors. I've worked with directors that are women, and I actually love working with women directors more than I do with men directors, because they're, I feel like they're more understanding, they're more comfortable, they're more patient when it comes down to having to work with them on their set than it is for a man, because they're always go, go, go. A woman's more like, she's going to let you feel
Oh yeah.
what you need. And when I look at these things too, as I feel like women are more confident, they're more empowered, and they can be great leaders. They obviously have way better communication skills than men do. But I think they also have the sensitive, and more caring side than men do. And I feel that when it comes down to them being confident, and they have the empowerment, they have the leadership skills, they have the independence and more emotional intelligence, I guess you could say too. So I feel that they're very well overlooked than what they should be. But it's Women's Month, and I feel like that's every month for me, because I never forget who my mama is, and she's the woman in my life, and there's not enough words to describe. I feel like 5 ways of just trying to describe a woman is not enough, because you can definitely continue on, and I feel like that it shows in my way. I feel like if men don't appreciate women, it shows more of a weakness on the men's side than it does for a woman, and that's I feel like that's not enough. I feel like men need to be more compassionate, more arm opening, and willing to listen to a woman rather than just feeling like you just hear her. Listen and understand. Let the woman talk. Men bury their emotions. Women need to be able to express theirs. And I feel like that's a problem that men have is because they don't want to listen, which causes, the separation between the two. So for me, it's always been just listen. Everybody has a story. Just listen.
And women, we come from a place where it is vulnerable. We're sharing our souls with you. We
Yeah.
come from a place where it goes back to your mom and our mothers nurturing. And I can give you an example. My mother has taught me and my siblings as well to each care for people, care through their situations, to listen as well too and be receptive.
Yeah.
I must say one thing that I've learned from my dad is to kind of stand up for myself. Don't let people bully you. And I've
Absolutely.
had to stand up for myself on several occasions. My mom is the same way. That's something else that I've learned from her, is to stand up for myself. But she also taught us to be caring, to be compassionate, to be vulnerable in these spaces. So that's one thing that women, we contribute to the world, is just that soft energy, like, okay, we can breathe now. We can be vulnerable. We don't always, and in that independence, one of my guests this week said that women were resilient. We're always bouncing back through, no matter what the chaos may be, we always find a way to regroup and bounce back. We've been through a lot, but we always come back on the top, and it's like we reinvent ourselves. We're like chameleons. It's a changing thing. We could have, and I use this as an example with one of my guests, um, Sandy Alessi, who is an amazing casting director, and she's done so many things with the actors in the LA area. So shout outs to her. Um, we were talking about how women, we could just keep going. We could have 102-degree fever and not be feeling our best, and we could still look like this at the end of the day. You would
And then,
never know, because
yeah,
we bounce back. We bounce back. We still have to fight through it.
you get men
So,
around trying to feel that way. You're lucky if you get them out of bed.
or wearing heels. We'd have to walk around the whole entire day on wherever in any job field, and we're wearing heels. So it's like, okay,
I
in
don't know
beauty
how you
there's
do
heels.
it.
Yes. So yes, women, we always find a way to come back resilient.
Yeah.
We always find a way to come back stronger than we were. And I say that's one thing I give my mom credit for. The same for you. You give your mom credit for making sacrifice. And that was what my mother told me with hosting this platform. She
Mm.
said, you want to do what now? You're gonna have a backup plan, because my father served in the military. He's a vet, served in the military as well too. Well, the Marines, I'm sorry. He served in the Marines. And one thing he told us is we got to have a backup plan. It's like, if you want to be an actor, you want to be a, because my brother at one point wanted to be a rapper. And then that changed. And he said, okay, I want to go into the military. And that's when I said, I want to do beauty school. I've always wanted to do hair. I always wanted to work in the field of beauty or fashion in some sort of way. So my father, my mother both had the same mindset, like, you sure that's what you want to do? You need to have a backup plan. What if this doesn't work? So you need to have something to fall back on. Your education is one thing, and they were very adamant about us going to school and
Yeah.
making sure that we have decent education and have something to fall back on. So that is one thing that I give my mother credit for as well too. And there have been times, even in my adult years, where I don't listen to her. I'm just like, I got this. But then it all comes back like, now you see what I'm saying.
Because
Even
mama
as
knows
adults,
best.
their words,
Yeah.
yes, ring in the back of our ears, and it's just like, oh my God, okay, she was right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that. Because there's times where, like, even as an adult, my mom
Yeah.
will start telling me something, and then I kind of just sit back and I'll just roll my eyes and, like, I don't want to hear this crap. But then you look back at it and you're like, yeah, she's actually has a very valid point, because she's trying to just steer you into the right direction. And I don't think any mom is gonna, if they're in your life, they're gonna do what they can to make sure that you're on the right path. You know. So for you to be passionate about, being in fashion and beauty, and them showing you the support, but also probably I would assume that they would still say, hey, have a backup in case this doesn't work out. So if you don't
Yes.
mind me asking, if beauty and fashion wasn't there for you, what would be the next, like, what was the backup plan that you would have, that, like, if this wasn't what you were doing, what was your backup plan in case this wasn't it?
I would say home decor, gardening, food, cooking. My
Yeah,
father gave me a compliment. He said, "You know what? You can cook. You can do something." Because before we grew up, we're so used to our parents cooking
yeah.
for us. But I said, I want to
I
learn.
can't. I
And
don't
I
know how to.
started teaching myself and learning gradually day by
Yeah,
day. And pretty good. I made the macaroni and cheese for Thanksgiving the previous year before, and it turned out amazing. There was absolutely none left. And I want to do more. I want to do more. It's more to me other than just fashion and beauty. And my grandmother even said it because my grandmother always brags. She's 80 years old. So that's another woman who I'm thankful for to have in my life. It's my grandmother, being able to pick up the phone and call her my mom's mom,
yeah,
because there's my mom's mom and then there's my dad's mom who's no longer with us. She passed in 96, and I would have still been a baby around that age, not understanding, not knowing what's going on. But my grandmother had so much love and admiration for me, like I was her grandbaby.
yeah.
And then my brother later came in the picture. I want to say 98. I was in 93. My brother was 98. So I'm telling my age. Yes, 31.
Oh,
But
I'm a '91 baby, so it's
really,
yeah, yeah.
okay. Yes, come on, 90s babies.
'90s
So my
babies. I feel
grandmother,
like that was the best time.
yes. And
Missing
my
out.
grandmother, one thing she would do is she would cook. My grandmother, my dad's mom, and then my mom's mom would cook too. We would go over when we get out of school, and we would go to my grandmother's house, and she would cook right then and there, and she would put all sorts of dishes together. So if I wasn't doing this fashion, beauty, hosting this platform, it would be anything involving food because it's everybody's comfort
Yeah,
zone. We can talk about issues. And I remember we used to have family dinners at my grandmother's house, or we would go to my aunt's house, my mom's sister. So it's like everybody has their way of doing things. And then my cousin, she would make the peach cobbler. So everybody made their dish. They had their dish of what they would do. But that would be something I would do if I wasn't doing fashion and beauty and hosting style.
that's a great. It's still a great B plan. It's because it's still something that you love to do. It's still something that's going to put a smile on your face. It's something that's going to make you happy because for the fact that you said you love to cook and then you made the mac and cheese and everything else and then it was completely gone. That makes you feel good because it lets you know that everybody liked it. And so when it comes down to you doing the beauty and fashion, you want to make others feel good in their and comfortable in their own
Yes.
skin. When it comes down to doing hair, you want to make sure that they're walking out that door feeling like a whole brand new person. So it's a great feeling to have. It's almost like when it comes down to being an actor. I want to make sure that when I walk in and we go on set and that film starts to roll, we I'm giving you everything and then I know that you are satisfied with what I just gave you as an actor. So that's for the plan B on my end. I honestly don't know what I would be doing. I feel like I'd probably still be doing what I'm doing now.
Acting. And that's it. When you have a passion, you have a goal. Shout outs to my brothers, the K2 spot. Hey brother, who I just texted a few minutes ago, and he always texts me to make sure that I'm good, I'm okay, and I have everything I need. And it's that support system
That's great
of
too.
having those people around you. And I must say that my mother, my grandmother, my entire family has
Yeah.
backed me 100%. And they support in so many different ways. And just watch. I know they're watching, and I know that they're supporting what I do. And my mother, making her proud. We've always wanted to make our mothers proud. The women in our lives, our mothers and our grandmothers, and we've always wanted to make them proud. And that's been something that I've always strived to do since I was, I want to say 8 years old, was make my grandmother proud, make my mother proud, and continue to go forth in life. That's what they all want. They all want the best for us. So,
I think when it comes down to a parent, though, no matter what it is that you're going to do,
oh
as
yeah,
long as you're on the right path, they're always going to be proud of you. I think when it comes to me, I know my mother's proud. She's even told me that she is because of where I came. I mean, I was homeless for 3 years, and I worked my butt off to get to where I am. You know, I was going from sleeping on couches at people's houses and even on floors. I didn't have a job. I wasn't working. I lost my license. I lost my home. And, you know, I went through such a dark path that I was like, where's my life going to go? But the one person who didn't give up on me was my mom. And shortly after, you know, because I got kicked out of high school, and I looked at it, it was like, all right, I need to get my life back on track. What's the first thing I need to do? Go get a job, you know? And so I started doing that. I started getting my job. I went back to school. I ended up getting my GED, and I was starting to take acting classes, and my life started to slowly pick back up, and I ended up getting a great job opportunity, which I still work for today. And I was like, there's something else missing. And I was like, it needs to be acting because that's what it is that I need to be doing. I started going back into acting school more, and eventually I got picked up by LaPaula Crawford, who is out here in Ohio, and he gave me my very first official chance to be on film. I had no dialogue. It was just a quick, like 2 minute short film, but it was just the door opening for an opportunity. And that's how he's actually how I managed to come across being introduced into the director who we did Melanin. That's how I was able to get to that point. So it started by me just seeing that door open, given the opportunity, and just taking it and just keep going from there. So when it came to that happening, and then my mother seeing me on screen for the very first time because she was with me at my premiere, she said that she saw me on screen and about cried, you know, because she knew that I was working so hard to try to do what it was, that she was so proud of me and so happy for me. But the way I look at it now is I love the fact that she's been so supportive. I love that I have the family, that support system that I do. But the other way I look at it is I also have a son. I want him to be able to look up at me and say, Dad, I'm proud of you. That he has somebody to look up to, knowing that I went through the struggles that I did, that he's happy that he can say, I want to follow in his footsteps, but knowing that he follows in that right path. So I'm going to guide him because I didn't have a dad. I didn't have a dad to keep me on that path. I had my mother. I'm going to do everything it is that I can to get my son to do that. So now, because I progressed so much into the acting industry that I now have a small actor who wants to do the same thing. You know, he wants to follow in dad's footsteps. He wants to be in film as well. So if I'm doing that, I just want to be able to know that not only am I making my mother, my brother, my sister proud, I'm making my son proud of me as well.
And that's key and critical as well
Yeah.
too. That your family is making, that you're making your family proud. And that's all of us when we get into this business and our parents are seeing us on the
Mm-hmm.
screen watching. There's like, that's my baby.
Yeah.
That's my baby. I'm proud of my baby. And one day my mother said something to me in the living room. I was sitting there and we were talking. We was talking about something. And she said to me, I got your back. So that's right there written in stone that a mother's bond with her child is unbreakable.
Yeah.
And I compare our mothers to black diamonds because black diamonds are the toughest of the diamonds
It's
to
actually my
cut.
favorite diamond
That
too.
bond is unbreakable. That bond is unbreakable with the mother and her child. So my mother has always been supportive of me and my brother because my brother said when I turn 18, oh, I'm going into the military. At first he wanted to be a rapper. And now he said, when I turn 18, I'm going into the military. And now here we are. He's married. He's got a wife. And I have a nephew. So I'm an aunt. And
That's
my
awesome.
nephew is on his way to his terrible twos. And I am not looking forward to it at all because he's already walking.
Oh yeah.
And the lady, the teacher at the daycare picked him up, and his wife, my brother's wife, said, "You do know that he can walk, right?" So he's now in a stage where he's walking,
Yeah.
he's getting into things. He knows sign
Oh,
language. He knows how to say "I
awesome.
love you" and "I've had enough." As far as food,
Yeah.
I've had enough. I don't want it anymore. So he said it to my grandmother and my aunt, my mom's sister,
Oh.
and they were just taken aback by it. Like, this baby is smart. So my nephew is on his way. He is 2 going on 30. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. It's funny that you brought up that. Congratulations to your brother with being married and you know
Yeah.
their baby. You know that's awesome. I love hearing the great stories like that. And it's funny that you mentioned that because my brother has four. He got married. I think it was 2012, and she had like just gotten out of high school. They were pretty much like a year apart between their birthdays are literally a day after. So they got married and they've been together since 2012. Well, they've been married since 2012, but they were together for about I think a year or two before, and they're still married to this day. They have four beautiful kids. They drive me nuts. Um, but I love them to death, and it's funny too, because if my sister ever has a kid, I've always said like if you have a baby, like you end up getting pregnant, I'm leaving the country until the baby's born because I'm not dealing with you. You're a whole nother mess. My sister's my best friend. She's actually been one of the people who helped me during my dark times of life that I had. And without her, my brother, my mom, I wouldn't be who I am this today. I didn't. I don't think a lot of people can really go on without support. Because they're your motivators. They're the
Oh
ones who help you strive to still do what it is that you're doing. Because you, how I told you, there was times where I thought about even giving it up. Just like walking away from acting and everything else. If I didn't have them saying like, you're doing great. You have these films already out here. Your name's going to be cemented into it one way or another.
yes.
So why give it up? And it's like, because it's not really going like, just give it some time. If I didn't have that kind of support system, I probably wouldn't be acting anymore. I probably would have just walked away from it completely. So it's almost like with you in beauty school. If if you felt like, this wasn't enough for you, you could have walked away, but then you're probably going to have your mom, your dad like, hey, what are you doing? Get back over here. We got some hair to do. So like it's great to always have that like that support that everyone needs because without support you're not going to make it the way doing it alone is easy, but it's a little bit harder when you don't have those people backing you.
Oh yeah. And it's important that we have that village, that tribe backing you
Yeah,
100%. So with my nephew, what my brother and his wife will do is they'll bring him down for us to see him. Or sometimes what my dad will do is he'll drive all the way up there to where they're at and surprise them on a whim. And they'll babysit and spend time with him. And I'll be home house sitting or whatever. But then when they come down, they'll come visit as well too. And I get to see my nephew and spend time with him. So it's these little key things, these villages and these tribes that we need to keep building up. And as far as this support and going forth in our careers and our
absolutely.
endeavors. And that's what we need.
Yeah.
So before we close on the end of this amazing dynamic journey and conversation, what is next in the chapter for Michael? Because we talked about the women that are in your life, your mom, your sister, and your grandmother, and so many others that inspire you and impact you. What's next in your chapter of life?
My next chapter is to keep going and let life not basically let life take over. Let me live life and let me
Mm,
take it over. I want to continue my success within being an actor and hopefully one day be able to become big time. If not, it's okay. It's completely okay because
it's
I'm
coming.
still doing.
I'm
I still.
manifesting it.
I'm taking all of it. um, when it comes to filming, though, my goal this year is to be able to finally get mine on mine completely. One of my stories, one of my movies that I've written. My goal is to finally get that movie shot and out there for because I feel like I've been told that with one of the people who are working with me on the film, he says this could be one of the greatest movies to ever come out of Ohio because of how like the storytelling that's in this film. And I said that's a huge jump and motivation for me to do this, but it's like I want to take this everywhere. Like I don't want this just to be Ohio. I want many people to see like this is what the talent we have in Ohio, and this is the talent that and dedication that I have. I mean, I wrote the movie, I'm directing and producing, and I'm also acting in this movie. That shows my dedication and like motivation that I have to do what it is that I'm doing. So, 2025, I feel like is my year, and I'm going to make it my year. I'm not going to give up, and the future holds whatever the life that I basically take it to.
Yes, 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 yes. So before we let you go, are there any gems of encouragement that you would like to give to actors? Because the key sole topic of today's interview and show is not giving up on your dreams and continuing to follow your passions. And my brother K Tooks will tell you, I always say this. I tell people to live life through fire. So if you have a passion or a dream of going after acting, of going after directing, of going after writing, go after it and
Hmm.
pursue it immediately. Go after it. If you have a vision, write it down. I create vision boards. So almost everything that I put on my vision board back in 2024 has now come to fruition in 2025. And every day I'm walking past my board. One of the things that I put on my board was to market myself. And I did it. I promoted anytime someone posts something or let people know, hey, this is it. So much more opportunities have come my way. And I'm so thankful. Every day is a mental checklist for me. Like, okay, I've completed this, I've completed this, I've completed this, I've done this. So you set yourself a goal tracker. Like, what else can I do, or what else do I want to add to my roster?
Hmm.
So before we let you go, what are some gems that you would give to people on following their dreams and their passions?
Well, it's like you said, the whole topic is basically don't give up and
Yes.
stay true to that. Do not give up. The other thing about it is that if an opportunity comes, take it. The one I always feel the opportunity that's not that's given that is not taken is an opportunity missed because you don't know where that opportunity could have taken you. And so when it's almost like when I get a call for taking on a role, I may not like what the character has to do, but this could be my chance. I'm just gonna take it and stay true to your craft. Stay true to yourself. Believe in yourself. And I always will say this. I said, believe in something and believe in yourself. Believe in something means believe in what it is that you're doing. Because if you don't believe in what you're doing, you're not gonna your love and your passion that you have for it's not gonna be there. Believe in yourself to believe in what you're doing. If you don't believe in yourself, what you're doing is not going to come to either. So I always live by stay true to yourself, believe in something, believe in the love that you have, and take opportunities. Do not give up because that's what we have to live by. Because if not, you're never going to make it. Never give up.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add on to what Michael just said. Today's final thought comes from David T.S. Wood. And the final thought says, every master was once a disaster, meaning you have to go through the ugly to get to the beautiful. In every story, you're going to have an obstacle in order to complete your task or your goal. And the key thing, as Michael just said, which is to never give up. Rihanna has a quote, and I said this in one of the previous shows this week, one of my previous interviews. And she says, don't focus on the chaos, but focus on getting to the finish line. Stay focused and do not get distracted because distractions are easy to get in your way and make you shift your focus of focusing on your purpose. So each and every one of us, we have a purpose. My purpose is to educate, to bring awareness, to more so enlighten people, to keep people encouraged, and to bring joy. So I want you all to be joyful about going after whatever that sets your soul on fire. So that's my final thought for the day, Fashion Dolls. Again, remember, every master was once a disaster. We're not beautiful in the beginning stages. It can be messy. It can be scary. It's going to be a scary time. But getting through all of these obstacles and hurdles, once you're at the finish line, it's a feeling you can't even describe. Like I get happy and goosebumps talking about it because it's just such a good feeling when you get to that finish line, knowing that I'm at a
I
place
made
where
it.
I'm confident. I'm at a place where I'm okay. I'm at a place where I've done it.
Yeah.
I completed my goal. So
You made it.
absolutely, absolutely. You've went through all of those obstacles that have been like a sturdy, like a block in your way. And the key thing is to not let it stop you. Keep going. Let's
Never let
move.
anything stop you. Don't let anybody get in your way.
Absolutely. So the film is called Melanin Fashion Dolls. Make sure you guys go and check it out. And Michael, let everyone know where they can follow you and keep in touch with you for more updates, because this is not going to be the last time I'm going to have you here on my platform. I would love to bring you back in the fall.
Oh, absolutely. I would definitely love that opportunity to speak to you again. So yeah, like she said, Melanin is on the CW app where you can watch it. I play Officer Frank White. I have many other movies that are on Tubi as well. One that we're shooting for a second one. Play on the Floor. Play on the Floor 2 is actually in the works right now, which will be released. We have Homeboy as well. It's on Tubi, which I worked on with Nelson. Those are very, very proud accomplishments that I was able to have with working with them as well. So you can find me on here on Instagram, Michael Angelo underscore Rodriguez. Yeah, I also have an IMDb, which is Michael A. Rodriguez. You can check out my work on there. Any bookings that people are interested in trying to get in contact with me on, it's michaelrod.ms@gmail.com. And I look forward to being able to speak to you again. And thank you so much for having me here. It's such a great opportunity. I'm more than grateful.
Yes.
And I love the fact of your success. I'm very happy for you for what you've went through and the accomplishments that you've been able to make for yourself and the greatest support that you are given by not only just your family but by your followers in general. So very, very, very happy for you and congratulations on that. And I am proud of you for that.
And I'm proud of you. Vice versa. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And it means so much that you came on my platform, and I would love to have you back on again. So, all right,
Thank
Fashion Dolls is only up from here. And I'm going to send you that information over. This interview will be uploaded to Style by Stevie Daytime on YouTube. And guess what? This makes show 763.
Wow.
We are on the road to 800. So thank you all so much for tuning in every day, checking out the amazing conversations, engaging. And you guys can engage. This replay will be saved here on the ground and it will be uploaded to my channel. So make sure you guys head on over to Style by Stevie Daytime on YouTube if you haven't, and subscribe, and you will see more interviews, more amazing, great conversation, and so much more on the channel. I love you all, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Joining me tomorrow, we have James Stokes. And Michael, it was such a pleasure meeting you. I had such an amazing time, and we got to do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You too, and you take care.
Thank you.